I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting for tonight, January 18, 2022. Roll call, please.
Weir,
Here.
Cottle,
Here.
Yannick,
Here.
Hallett,
Here.
Chrisman,
Here.
All right. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doesn't look like we have any citizens before us today. And the next thing on the agenda is meeting minute approval. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, I guess the next thing is let's move on to the agenda items. So, Emily?
Yes, so tonight we have our comp plan discussion that we were going to hold in December. However, we bumped it to this evening. So what I would like to do is talk with the Planning Commission regarding your feedback and any updates that you guys would like to share regarding the survey and the survey questions, and what our next steps we would like to do in order to collect this data. So I did receive some comments from the commissioners, but I would like to just start kind of going around the dais and have everyone share what their takeaways were, please.
I was talking with Bob, what was it, a couple weeks ago, when we were discussing, we had some concerns with the cost of how much it would cost the town to do a full-blown, have somebody come in and do all the, dirty work for us. But yeah.
Okay, so costs definitely something to take into consideration regarding the number of residents, the data collection, processing it, analyzing it. Any other thoughts on the design or the procedure of putting out the survey? Just general ideas?
I mean, I sent my suggested ones, trimmed it down to 23, and quite frankly, I could even live without a couple of those. Specifically, I don't think it's terribly important if we know if they voted in the last election or not, if you want to pair one off. I also don't know if it's particularly germane if we know if they attend town council meetings or not, so there's two. But I think we could get it down to 20. I think 20 is probably a reasonable number. Given how limited I suspect the response rate would be, I think last time we had something like a 15 to 18% response rate, which is roughly, well, less than 100 responses to collate. Rather than outsourcing it, particularly given that we added staff, I think we've got the staff in-house to handle that. Should be a fairly simple thing to collate and rack and stack the results. And then we'll have at least some basis to start the discussion.
Okay.
I guess the question is, which questions do we leave in and which ones do we get rid of, or which ones do we add?
I think on this thing I sent in my suggestions, they were pretty short. I think less is more, because the idea is to get, as Bob said, as many responses as possible. Actually, a 15% return rate on the survey is actually pretty good. With that said, I think the survey should be centered around basic things like, what's your definite, I'm trying to think of all the comments that come before the planning commission, that have come before the town council, and I served on it. There's just common themes: walkability, traffic, schools, business friendly. And you could actually break those categories down into subcategories to kind of drill down, something as simple as, what do you think about drive-through restaurants? Things that, park improvements, what would you like to see done with the park? We had a lot of charrettes years ago, spent a lot of time, obviously made some improvements, playground being a huge one. But we were going to do an amphitheater and some other things, and people spent a lot of time, gave a lot of input. So I would like personally to see it centered around, what the common themes that just come up over and over again. And I think too, if we're going to tally it in-house, unless we have someone that's trained in that, we send it out, we get it back, what are we actually going to do with it? I think there needs to be a follow-up, because, a lot of times people say, well, I give my input, who's listening? I think whatever we end up doing, we need to send a follow-up back, if nothing else, to the people who responded, so they know that they were actually heard. So those are just my simple thoughts.
I would concur that once we collate the results, the results should be sent out. And I would, if we're going to send the survey out to everybody, we should send the results out as well.
Emily,
And I don't know that we can incorporate that into the newsletter, because I suspect it'll be a little bit too long. It might not be.
Yeah, we can always make something work. One of the things that we send out a quarterly newsletter, and it goes to every residential mailbox. One of the things I was sort of hoping for is, with some of the transition here at the beginning of the year, we've not gotten our January newsletter out. And so I was hopeful we could go ahead and get this survey done and use that as an opportunity to send a newsletter out in February with the survey in it, still capture our first quarter responses, but we can help with some of that cost. We can always send out another postcard mailer and say you can find the link. We can give them a quick link that they can fill it out online, but we would also have that paper copy hitting every resident in the newsletter format as well.
Well, if you mailed it in the newsletter, you're using your postage for two things.
Right.
Which makes sense.
And we have that bulk mailing, so that definitely helps a lot anyway on postage. But then, two birds, one stone. Hopefully that could get the news out faster. Again, we can also do a secondary postcard, a month before the results are due, and reminder, here's a link, you can fill it out electronically as well.
To Mr. Caldwell's point, I mean, in the draft comments I sent you, parks were included. I didn't think of drive-through. That's actually a very good, would be a good barometer. Do they have enough? With all of this input, will you have enough data to put together a basic? I'd like it no longer than 20 questions, and I'll be willing to withdraw a couple of these questions that I left in there, just because I don't think, I mean, they're nice to know, but I don't particularly care how many people voted or didn't vote.
Yes, certainly. And I can work on finalizing this. I can also work on the formatting of it, and we can have a draft. If it's something that you guys feel you've given enough input to, and if I were to send it out and you guys could review it and say, we're okay with this, please proceed, I can take those next steps.
How quickly do you have to have it all put together? Next 2 weeks?
Ideally, the next 2 weeks to get in the
Okay.
newsletter would be the best. As a council liaison, Bob, do you think that the council would like to have any weigh in on the survey, or let's leave it with planning commission.
To be honest with you, typically in most jurisdictions, it's the responsibility of the planning commission and the planning office. I mean, I'm sort of the wrong person to ask because I'm naturally conflicted with it, but I don't see any particular need to have the council sprinkle holy water on it because I think it will just take too long. Because, well, I don't know. The work session is when?
The 31st.
So that's 2 weeks from now?
That's correct.
I mean, I'm kind of agnostic on it. If you think it's a good idea, I'm not going to fight you on it.
Commission, if I were to send out a draft survey by the end of this week, would you guys be able to take some time, give it some thought over the weekend, and by middle of next week, send back a up, down, or any edits that you might have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Why don't I do that, and then I'm going to base the questions off of what we talked about this evening. If you guys have any more input before we're done, please feel free to share it. I'll include the topics that we normally hear the most. I have walkability, schools, business-friendly, traffic, park improvements, drive-through restaurants. Did I miss any?
I'll send you a revised version of mine with ones I don't care about that are still left in that
Okay.
I think we could do without from a planning perspective.
Matt, did I miss any of the topics that you hit on?
No, I mean, typically, it's been my experience, what people come here and voice, if they're willing to get in the car and come here and voice it, is probably what's on top of mind of most people. I just know surveys, if they're too long, first thing I do, I look at a survey, I open it, and if it's 30, 40 questions, unless it's something I'm super passionate about, I just throw it in the trash can, to be honest.
You said 15% response rate, give or take, for 20 questions. What if we narrowed it down to,
No, it was 15 or, no, I'm lowballing a number, but I think it was 43 questions.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So the
It
original,
was-
yeah,
okay,
the original survey.
I didn't do that one.
The responses are in the back of the comprehensive plan that we currently have. That original survey that was done in 2005-ish, maybe 2008, was about 40-plus questions.
I was saying, could we narrow it down to even like, I don't know, 8 to 10 questions, and then if a follow-up survey down the road would be necessary, I'm thinking we'll get a bigger response rate if we, or is that just not enough?
I don't think it's enough to give you the kind of data that you need.
Okay.
Just because there are so many different issues.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, would I love to cut it down to 10? Yes. Do I think that's going to give you a valid sampling?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think
20's
20's push, I mean, given what we're trying to do, 20's pushing it in terms of limitations, but I think we can make 20 work. Maybe if we might be able to cut it down to 15. I don't think so. Because you start talking parks is 1 or 2, transportation is 1 or 2, walkability is its own, then you've got the demographic stuff that you got to pull, business friendly, and 20 kind of works because it's the front and back of one page, or we could probably even fit it on one page.
We definitely want to avoid multiple pages.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, so let me play around with the questions, formatting, making sure all our topics are covered. If it's the difference of, leaving a topic off or having 20 questions or 21, we'll go ahead and add it, but we'll strive for 20 or less questions. Ideally, 1 page, front and back if we had to. We'll probably, of course, leave room for if anybody wants to share any other comments, if they want to handwrite comments in.
The only other question I have is, what kind of expenses are we looking if we did get a outside?
You could look at, it all depends on a company that you were to use.
Yeah.
For a contractor, and this is spitballing ideas. I have not thoroughly dug deep into all of our different avenues of cost, but probably a lower end would be several thousand, upper end would be several tens of thousands, depending on how intensive, if they were on the ground, going door to door, soliciting surveys versus, phone calls versus we'll draft a survey, we'll provide you a link, they fill it out, we provide you an analysis. That's a little something different.
And also, I think Mr. Chrisman, I don't know how long ago, you had sent out a detailed email with some of the possible solutions. We can, I think it was, it sounded like it was no cost associated with it, right? This is related to education or,
Well, I sent out an email in November about saying, making a suggestion that the town consider going to George Mason University. That email you're talking about?
Yes.
To go to the George Mason University or to Mary Washington, but particularly George Mason, and go to their School of Humanities and School of Business and see if they would be willing to do it for free. Develop the entire survey and everything. I mean, they have, it's a win for us and a win for them because they get real-world experience. They get their students do it with professors' guidance. They develop the survey questions. They in the humanities program and in their business program, that's one of the things they focus on is this type of activity. I'm a behavioral scientist myself. I mean, that's my trade, and this is one of the things that I did as a behavioral scientist: is survey development, implementation, and management, and all. I'm concerned with the approach that the town is taking. It's kind of a I'm not sure it would get the results that you really want by asking 20 questions or 15 questions and shotgunning questions out there. I haven't really heard what is the purpose of the survey. That's the key. The whole thing is, what do you want? What does the council and the mayor want out of the survey? Is it a feel-good thing, just to show your constituents that you're actively engaging and it's really nothing more than a feel-good exercise? Or is the purpose to gather specific information on a specific problem to be addressed? Or is it a survey that is you're going out to a specific demographic group and asking for their feedback? For a demographic group, for example, you want to get the feedback from females who are 25 to 45 and are moms. You want to get their feedback on what is the town, like what are the playgrounds like, what are the traffic like, what are the school bus stops, those types of things. So I haven't seen that in this process here. So I'm concerned that we would end up just really shotgunning a bunch of questions out, getting a bunch of answers back from people that you may not really want to hear from, or maybe the wrong group of people you're hearing from.
Typically it's sort of a satisfaction/dissatisfaction. What do you utilize? What do you not utilize? What do we need? What are the problems? And you, by necessity, have to send it to the entirety of the town. We can't target a certain demographic. We can't target a certain age group. And I think if you look at similar surveys in other jurisdictions, both large and small, you get the same thing. You have your standard sort of questions, Do the town's businesses meet your need? Do the county's businesses meet your need? With the county, the survey's fairly lengthy. It's like 100 questions. Getting down to tax rates and, police patrols, school SROs, but then again, they've got a whole lot more to deal with. I think what we're looking at from a comp plan standpoint, largely because we're, for all intents and purposes, close to build out, is where do you want to see the resources or the focus expended? Do you want to see it on, do you want us to continue down the walkability path? Do you not? Do you want to see more investment in the parks? Do you not? What do you want to see? What don't you want to see? What are the problems that you're facing? And then you take that survey information, and we're going to have a work session, public work session on the comp plan at some point in time, citizens input. And you use that as the basis for, once you get the survey back, you use that as the basis for setting up your chart for the meeting. We're going to discuss this set of topics, this set of topics, this set of topics, and then at the bottom, everything else that we haven't covered or have forgotten. It's one of those things where it's real easy to overthink it, but we're so small, and our means and our services are so limited. Obviously we don't have to go through that 100 question thing that the county does in their satisfaction surveys. And I guess maybe that's the best way to, it's more or less a satisfaction, some would say dissatisfaction survey, and where do you want to see your tax dollars spent?
So you said two different things there. One would be the first set of questions you said was, are you satisfied with the businesses of the town? Something to that.
Businesses,
That's
spending.
not going to give you anything. They're going to come back, yep, yes, no. But what is that? That's not telling you anything.
Well, it was
the way
more-
you narrowed, the second set of questions you asked, you narrowed it down further into more detailed, like, what do you think of the walkability of the town? Now you're getting into something specific that people might grab onto and actually be interested in. One of the concerns about with surveys is time. As you all point out, the longer it is, throw that in the trash because I'm not interested in it. So you're going to get the people that will respond to a generalized survey are going to be those generally who are either mad at the town or they love the town.
Yep.
And those are the extremes, as you know, when you take an average or a median, you always take out the extremes at both ends, and the meat is what you want in that center. That's really what you want to get to. So that's where it has to be. The questions have to be designed to get to that middle part. You want to get those extremes out of there. So with your second part of your comment saying that, what do you think of the walkability of the town, or what do you think of the way the streets are laid out, or what do you think of that specificity is going to get you more results versus, are you satisfied with the street lights? Are you satisfied with the color of the sidewalks? Or that doesn't really say anything.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that I left in, because I stripped out a lot from the 43 one was, you've got some basic questions that you need to know. How long have you lived in Haymarket? And you've got a variety of, check boxes. Top reasons for moving to Haymarket, again, a variety of check boxes with an other. Overall quality of life, if you want, you could throw in how often do you go walking in the town. I don't know that for the purposes of this particular survey, is it important that we know how they feel, whether they're informed or not about what's going on? It's a nice question to ask. Do you feel like you're adequately informed? But I don't know that it's helpful to the planning goal for a comp plan. I mean, it's a nice question to throw in there, and it's a nice question to know the answer. But if we're looking for brevity, is that one that we can cut out and replace it with a more meat and potatoes? Do you like the sidewalk benches or whatever? Same thing with town special events. I think it's important to leave things in like, what is the primary issue facing the town? Give them a bunch of bullet points, and then the other option. What change do you believe is needed? What public service needs to be improved? I guess, do you feel your neighborhood is safe is probably a good one to leave in there just to kind of get a sense of where everybody stands. What type of business development is needed? Do the shops in Haymarket serve your needs? What additional services do you want to see?
So do the shops in Haymarket, I'm sorry, do the shops in Haymarket serve your
A little
needs?
thing I love about the Chick-fil-A chicken tortillas.
Why is that coming on my computer? My computer is haunted. I'm sorry. Could you
So do
repeat
the-
that?
So the question of, do the shops in the Haymarket serve your needs?
The answer's
Everybody
probably
said
no.
yes, so what are you going to do with 100 answers that say yes? What does that do?
That's
And I'm also thinking in terms of, this is taxpayers' money we're spending. We're spending our dollars to know that, 100 people said, the restaurants and the businesses in Haymarket serve my needs. What is that saying?
Well, and that question might actually be redundant given the prior two. If you've already asked them what type of business development is needed in town, and what additional services do you want to see in the town. It doesn't really matter if the shops serve their needs, because you've already asked the questions that are more important.
Yeah, I'm more geared towards like, well, I think I saw it on the website today, the mayor's put out the strategic initiatives. I saw that I was going through the website.
Did I see
saw it.
those?
So there's a list of strategic initiatives. Those are the things that the town council and the mayor has said we're going to do. So I would gear your survey questions towards those things. Because you're taking charge of your town then and saying, this is what we want to do in this town. What do you think? This is our plan to do this. What do you think?
Those mission, vision, core values, leadership, strategic initiatives, all of those items are spelled out under the town council page on the town website.
So you've got those laid out there, which is great. You know, it's strategic goals, so to speak. Those are goals for the town.
But I'm trying to narrowly confine it to the comp plan, because that's what the survey is going to support, so I kind of want,
Maybe, pardon the interruption, maybe something we can real quick take a look at. We pulled up the comp plan on everybody's screen. If you go just to the table of contents, take a minute and just kind of read through some of those topics there. That can also help us narrow down where we're looking for questions and responses to hit certain topics.
You're talking part 1 of the comprehensive plan, 1 through 1.1 through, was it 1.9?
Actually, I think it's part 2.
I think
I would part
1.2 is the important section, because,
1.2 land use?
So,
yeah.
And that's,
Okay.
and I think if we generally look at this, I've tried to think of it in this term. As you look at the table of contents, we need to build a community profile. When we go to update this document, we need to build our community profile. We will do various research in order to build the profile, but also I think we should have 1, 2, maybe 3 questions of our survey to get answers to help us build our profile on the community. Land use policy, that is one of the most important reasons we're developing this comprehensive plan. We're sitting down as a planning commission, you guys are guiding your neighbors, your residents, the town, in developing the future plan of Haymarket. You guys are at the forefront of it, and you guys are leading the way to do so. So we really need to touch on land use. Natural resources, this is going to be a big portion that probably gets moved to an appendix, but we will go through, I say we as in staff and the commission will do our research. We will put in updated information regarding our natural resources in the town and the local area and how they impact us. Potential and existing sources of pollution. There could be, and it could be very important to put, it's not going to necessarily be an accurate number based on how many people respond, but identifying any kinds of pollution that our residents may feel we could have. That could be another survey question. Again, that's going to be a big weight on staff to do that portion of the research and determination. Historic resources, we can include some questions in our survey regarding the importance of the historic resources to our residents and our community. Something there that, you know, our future plan should address. How are we going to encourage saving these buildings, the upkeep of the buildings, so forth and so on. Growth determinants, I think this is going to hit on a lot of our, have we expanded beyond, do we need less growth, you know, are you satisfied with the businesses in town? We can change that question so it's not a yes, no, but maybe it's a something more along the lines of a land use question. Have the planning commission, have they prepared or have they presented enough options for different types of businesses in town? You know, have we covered all those bases? Transportation, I think that one speaks for itself very much so with what we're facing today. We need to know from our residents. You know, we tout that we are walkable. We say quite often that we are a town built on walkability, but do our residents feel safe in that walkability? Do they feel safe going up and down the street? I can tell you as of a week ago, you know, due to some poor snow planning on the town's part, our residents didn't feel safe. And so we adjusted, we overcame, we made a different approach this time. And, you know, they were appreciative of that, but that's what we need to hear. And not just snow, we need to hear every day. Do you feel safe walking on your sidewalks? Do you feel safe in the bike lanes? Do you like the bike lanes? Are there additional connections we can provide with the county? Part of this comp plan can lay out a future plan of, you know, we the town want to see all of our connections completed, and that includes having to work with Prince William County to get our connection all the way to Heathcote, get our connection all the way to Somerset, Gainesville, and beyond. So those questions can be addressed in transportation as well. With this survey, we can ask very pointed questions. I don't want to ask too pointed questions. I want, you know, our residents to share with us some, but we can certainly narrow some of it when it comes to walkability or some of those other factors. And then population growth and economy, we can certainly put in there some questions that hit right on these topics. We certainly want to make sure that the people we're planning for, our residents, are heard and that they feel that their voices are shared through this plan. Because ultimately, it's not a plan for any one of us individually, it's a plan for the entire town and what their goals are, our goals are.
Mr. Chrisman, I know you had concerns about yes or no. It doesn't really tell you anything. What if we did a, this would make the survey longer though. Like, if yes, please explain why, or if no, please explain why. And we just kind of like dig into the really important questions so that we can get people to you know, just put a couple lines down and have their kind of write
That's
their
ideal, is to get, have an open-ended question of where
they have to
respond.
force them to respond.
That's the best meat you can get.
Yeah.
You know?
But then
The question is, are they gonna do it?
that's
Yeah. And that,
that's
you know,
the challenge.
how
Mr.
far can we leave,
Cottleman
how far can we
mentioned
leave
before,
them?
half these
Yeah.
people are probably going to just throw it right in the trash.
Yeah.
So
And we also, you know, to some degree, you guys have a vantage point, I like to think, that most of you all live in different neighborhoods. You guys talk to different communities outside of your position right here. And, you know, it could be a real chance where we lean on our planning commission, our ARB, our town council to remind neighbors and friends in the community, don't forget to fill out your survey. Your voice matters. We need to hear from you. And here's how you can access your survey. I know sometimes it falls on deaf ears, but, you know, the best that we can all collectively do to share the word and encourage one another to do the survey would be ideal. We can think of different incentivizing, exciting ways to complete a survey. I mean, I'm sure that we can come up with something, not monetizing it, but we could maybe come up with something where we find a way to really encourage our residents.
There's all kinds of ways to go. Like I said, that's why I threw out the suggestion of going to George Mason
Yeah.
University to have them help, you know, partner with the town government to design and develop and implement this. And you could go to someone like the principal over at Battlefield High School and work out with a partnership with them where their students go out and conduct the surveys even. Or, you know, or Boy Scout troops, Girl Scout troops go around and actually go out and meet in the communities and hold meetings. And community members come together and fill out the surveys at a Boy Scout meeting or at a church. You know, involve the community in this. I think that would be a fantastic way to build credibility with the town government towards the community, but also involve a lot more people in the community. If you had a Boy Scout troop, for example, or a church set up a 1 hour or a 2 hour session and invite people to come and have dessert or something, you'll get a great turnout, I think. So that's kind of what I look for, is to try to get government to, instead of spending money, taxpayers' money, is to get the community involved in this kind of stuff. This is a great way to get the community directly involved.
I actually had to do the similar survey in college in a marketing research class, and yeah, it was not easy. But if I had like something like this that I could, it would have been a lot. I think it's going to be a lot appealing
Yeah.
for the kids, and if it can save us $20,000-$30,000.
And in a lot of times in planning school, what, I was taught not too long ago was that, I went to the Virginia Tech campus for my master's in planning, and what we were taught is really getting out in the community and having that charrette style event where you go to where they're at. We go to the playground on a sunny afternoon when 100 plus moms are there with their children, and we're the ones talking to the moms and maybe offering an ice cream treat or something for the kids, but something long enough so that they're responding. So definitely getting out in the community. I think all good ideas have been stated. We just as a commission and staff need to determine what's our next step forward. Do we send out a 20-question survey that breaks the ice, and then do we follow up? For example, we are planning a community garden event in May. Do we follow up and invite our community out and tell them, hey, we'll be there on a Saturday. We're ready to take your comments, anything. We're ready to meet you. Come on out, and encourage that. Do we schedule meetings where maybe a planning commission representative and a town council representative go to the HOA meetings and speak to our communities? So just tonight, I think we should decide what our next step is and go ahead and go from there.
I think, obviously, face-to-face is the best feedback you can get. However, given the time of year, COVID, I don't know how many people are going to want to, some people are really spooked about large events.
Yep.
I mean, how many homes do we have in Haymarket? I'm not concerned about the number of residents, but how many actual homes?
I roughly base it on the number of newsletters we send out. So roughly speaking, we have about 450 to 480 residential properties we send.
All right, and what is the cost with the bulk mail to do that? What do we pay?
It just went up.
It's like 60 cents, isn't it?
No, with bulk mail, it's less.
It's
Let's say it's a-
considerably less.
Let's say it's a couple $100. The rate just went up, and we haven't done one in about 4 months, so a couple $100.
All right, and then how would we get the survey back? Self-addressed stamped envelope?
So that's going to be another expense. There is,
Use your bulk mail stamp, and you only get charged for the ones that get sent back in.
I'd have to check if we're allowed to do that with the post office.
Yep.
Okay.
That's when you send a mailing out and you're using your bulk mail stamp on it.
So like when you get your water bill and they have the envelope in there, it would be the same.
Yeah, well, it's like any mailings you get, you
Okay.
know. The post office only charges you for the ones that are actually submitted. You don't pay for them on the front end, you pay for them on the back end when they go
Okay.
back through the system and the reader reads your bulk mail code.
Okay.
I guess what I'm saying, if we could do this survey for $1,000, I agree about being cognizant of the town's money. If we could do an initial survey where we came up, I mean, we're the ones that hear the comments over and over. I mean, you have expertise in this. If we involve George Mason, which is a great idea, we're not going to pull it off by February. We're probably talking 4 or 6 months down the road at best, I would
Least.
think.
I think one of our opportunities we could do is we could send this out truly as like an icebreaker we're starting our process. Comp plan review will take time. It will take us the better part of a year to get this done when we work through everything. So start this off as the icebreaker, but go ahead and once we send this out, set a schedule of, we will have a community charrette this day, and this is going to be the topic. We hope that everyone can come, and we do some of those planned meetings. I think that's where we're going to get that really good information, the face-to-face comments and the input that we want to hear. Also gives us an opportunity to reach out to George Mason, UVA, Virginia Tech, any of those places, and say, do you have a grad student who needs to do a capstone project? Do you have a class that needs to do any kind of stuff? I mean, I know personally when I was in grad school, we helped Falls Church rewrite portions of their comprehensive plan. So it's definitely a project that they will bring in students to help, and that really helps with the research portion. So maybe we treat the survey as an icebreaker. We say, okay, there was a lot of interest in walkability. That was a big topic, so we need to hold a charrette. We need to hold a public meeting where people feel comfortable. You guys aren't sitting up there. We're all sitting down here together. We're all on the same level, and they feel comfortable talking to everybody face to face, no barriers. So I think that could give us some direction on where we then need to focus in and get a second survey done where we're walking, or another survey that's strictly going door to door, meeting the HOAs.
I think that sort of goes hand in hand with one of the few nice things about redoing the comp plan is, although there's a statutory requirement for when you have to review it, there's no requirement for how long it takes to review it, or if you ever actually do anything with it. There's simply every 5 years you have to review. And that's the only statutory requirement on it. So we can take as long as we want or as short as we want. So time's not really a factor.
I mean, if we spend $1,000 and send something to everybody's home and got feedback, even if they throw it away, in the back of their mind, hey, they care enough to send it to my house. There's still value even if they don't return it, because you're giving them an opportunity. It's just like in business. You mail something out. You may not get anything back. You may hold an event. People may not come, but they have the opportunity. You still gain goodwill by at least reaching out. So, I mean, if we could do this for $1,000, I mean, what's our town budget?
That is a
Significantly greater this year than any other year it will be because of the feds, but
Well,
generally
I'll
about
work
2
with the
million.
treasurer, but we'll certainly have plenty of room in the budget to accommodate $1,000 for a survey.
And then once we do this survey, we can always go to where he has the contact, say, hey, this is what we sent out, here's some data we got back. They know the questions. We may not ask the greatest questions, but at least we've asked questions. Because if you're going to write a survey for somebody, you have to know what's important to the people you're surveying.
Right. Is that something that the whole commission feels comfortable with? I can work on these questions. I may rewrite them just a little bit. I might update the answer options since it's been over a decade since this last went out.
What I sent you was just a template, so, I mean, I tear it apart, do what you want.
I mean, Mr. Chris, would you be willing to come in and help her out? I mean, you have expertise in this. I mean, why hire somebody initially that we have somebody sitting right here knows what they're doing? I mean, to me, that's good use of town's resources. If we have a highly qualified person here, why don't we go out and pay for it somewhere else? I don't see any sense in that.
I'm gonna go ahead and
We don't need
forward
any more
the
unnecessary
draft survey,
expenses.
And then we can talk about maybe setting up a time to meet and go through it.
Sure.
I
It's like a
am,
teacher asking good questions. I can write a test that every kid passes on a topic, doesn't mean they know pertinent information, right? It's just like writing a test.
I am confident that you'll get a very strong response from Longstreet. being there's 3 council members there and myself, so.
Yeah, make Chris walk a
That-
copy of it around.
Makes up, what, 25% of the town? We have like 110 houses, I think,
I
over there.
don't think so.
It's probably just shy. It might be like 20%. Green
20%.
Hill would be kind of second there, or first.
Yeah.
About
Green Hill's
20%.
pretty big with all those townhomes
Yeah.
over there.
But the townhomes, only 12 of them are included in the town of Haymarket.
True.
As
The rest
long
are
as-
in Gainesville.
As long as someone doesn't complain and I get pulled over by Officer Jake, because we do have a no solicitation rule.
You're right, there is a no solicitation rule in a lot of our neighborhoods, yes. No, I think if we just help,
Bound by that.
I think if we also just help, spread the word when it starts to come out, it's funny how you can say one thing to one neighbor and I never knew, or I never knew you served on the planning commission. So, spreading some of that would be good.
I would strongly suggest you take 100 copies, give them to Mr. Morris, and have him walk them door to door, because then they'll quickly do them just so he leaves.
Yeah.
And we can certainly,
Absolutely.
if anyone feels, hey, I have a HOA meeting and I think that everybody will be there tonight and I'd like to take surveys, let me know, because I will print them and we'll have surveys available so that they can fill them out.
Yeah, Chuck can help me with that.
Yeah, Chuck and
Do you
Chris.
guys get a turnout at your HOA meetings? Because I know ours don't.
I don't go.
I stay away on
Does
purpose.
villages have HOA meetings? Yeah.
So-called HOA, we have a so-called HOA in general.
Okay.
I actually just joined the HOA.
It's
Okay.
been very loose.
Yes.
For the last 20 years I've lived in the.
Yeah, I just joined, so
Okay.
hopefully, we'll see.
How about Haymarket Station?
It's pretty active.
Pretty good turnout to meeting. Do you
No.
guys have meetings?
We have meetings once a month.
Okay.
Yes.
See, the only HOA that has a facility is Green Hill,
Right.
which makes it hard for the other HOAs. I mean, I can remember when they used to have their HOA meetings in here.
Yes.
We have ours over at Giuseppe's, which is, it's a
Okay.
win-win for us. We get a place to go and talk, and they get customers and buy pizza.
Very nice.
There you go. Yeah.
So
All right, so Emily, by when what's the plan with the questionnaires?
So I forwarded over the draft survey to Bob Chrisman. I'll follow up with him after the meeting and we'll set a time, maybe end of this week, early next, that we can sit down and meet to discuss the questions. And we'll develop a draft and try to get that out to commission,
Okay,
by the end of next week.
okay, all right, sounds good. All right, next agenda item, John Marshall Village Additional, 1 mile review discussion.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Addition, sorry, addition 1 mile.
Okay, so the next agenda item is a rezoning application that was submitted to the county from the Van Meter project that's just outside of town at the roundabout. There's an additional piece of property that originally was not included but is now being requested for the rezoning and additional residential units put on the site.
Hmm.
So that is up for the commission discussion on what comments, if any, we would like to send over to the county planning department.
How many units, additional units, do you know?
Give me 1 moment to pull it up. I'm gonna try to pop it up on the screen.
Okay.
Kim, do you have your email open on that laptop? I might not be able to pull it up on the screen. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it was 18.
It's 18 or 16 or 18 2/2s. I can kind of give you a thumbnail of what's happened and what's going on. When the rezoning first came in years ago, in its first iteration, it was small lot singles for age restricted.
Yes.
And then they changed it to one half of it would be those and one half of it would be townhouses, and they switched it all to townhouses. They got the approval for the townhouses with the increased density, arguing that the existing commercial that was sort of in this donut hole in the center of it constituted a village plan, even though so they were taking the credit for somebody else's development and applying it to, I think, their village zoning, so they could get increased density. Now, just as we suspected and predicted 3 or 4 years ago, they've acquired some more parcels that adjoin it, and they're trying to sort of circumvent the review process, and they want to go to an even higher density. My suspicion is we're going to see that happen at least 2 or 3 more times as they acquire the next sets of parcels down. When they first came in, they could not acquire, I think, it's the 3 residential parcels next between what they've got and Tyler. There were 3 people that wouldn't sell. And now that their land value has increased, I would guess, and Van Meter is offering them an even higher price than they did as part of the original assemblage, they're now selling, and you're going to see the other 2 parcels go at some time in the near future.
This is the parcel. You see the dotted line around?
Yeah.
So the roundabout is now right here, and this is the first section of housing that they put in that you can see. But this is the parcel we're
Oh,
talking
this is where they've
about.
already built the homes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not talking about the property where the yellow house is?
No, that's coming before the Planning Commission in 2 weeks for a data center.
At that old little, like French-looking little house?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be bulldozed over? That was gonna be Van Meter, I thought.
No, that's owned by, well, it was owned by Peg Contrucci. Now it's being developed by Black Flag Data Centers.
Oh, it's gonna be a data, so that's between the new development, the Van Meter and that little
Well, you're
commercial
gonna have,
building.
you're gonna
There's a
have
commercial building
you
there,
have
right?
Van Meter, and then you have the commercial area with U.S. Tigers and Pizza Hut. Then you've got the second half of Van Meter. Then you've got Tyler, Pace West, the fire station,
Yeah.
and then the data centers on top of the yellow building. And then
And that's
2 million square feet of data center on the other side of Ket Harpin, and then another,
Oh, no, okay, I was thinking of the land where there's QBE, and then there's that commercial building right there with the doctor's office and stuff.
The
And then there's
new
that-
Van Meter
then
project
there's that
will-
parcel of land there with the yellow house on it.
It's that yellow house.
oh, that, oh, God.
That's
Yeah.
the yellow house.
That's the
Okay.
one that's, we're talking
I
about.
thought you were
Yes,
talking
and
about the
it's
yellow
right
one down at the corner of
across.
Ket Harpin and,
No,
I'm
the
sorry.
other,
There's that brick facility that's some type of ministry facility beside the post office. It's the yellow house right across the street from it,
okay,
That's,
across 50.
that's what we're talking about right now.
Yes.
Okay, that
Yes.
property there.
that's just over the
I never
town line,
noticed the
right?
pillar.
Yeah, QBE's the town limit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the back of QBE. So, like they're saying, if you're looking at QBE,
Yeah.
then to the immediate right, you have that business commercial building.
Behind that will be the beginning of the Van Meter parcel.
Of the new one that they're trying to.
No, that they've already got the approval for.
They've already got the,
And that goes all the way
Because
to,
it creates a big U shape,
yeah, okay.
kind of, it goes around it.
Oh, so they got the land back behind that commercial?
No.
That goes up against QBE and the.
behind
QBE
that
and the-
commercial, yes,
yeah,
but
there's
not
QBE
behind
and the
US Tigers.
townhouses back behind QBE, that open to that other, okay, I got it.
Yeah, it'll back up to Alexander's Keep.
Our townhouses,
Okay.
Alexander's Keep, will touch Van Meter. I'll pull up a map real quick.
They've got their stormwater
This
pond
is-
right there in that
there's not
corner, I
much we
think,
can do
don't
with
they?
this, right?
That's
I
over.
believe so, and there was a
jurisdiction.
discussion of an interconnected
So
parcel.
why are they
I don't
even
know
asking
that
for our
that's-
comments?
I'm not sure where that
The-
stands.
Town
zone
has
of
a
a mile or so?
mile review.
Isn't there a mile
Yes.
zone out? that
We have a
they-
mile of,
they
there's
ask
an
for-
ordinance.
Basically, they ask for comments, review and comments, but they don't have to take our review.
They don't have
or
to
They don't have to
follow.
take what we say. It's basically a feel-good for the county to say they've ask the local resident,
Okay.
local municipal.
That's what it
If the
sounds like to
county
me.
keeps approving these data centers, we're gonna be surrounded by data centers.
Well, while she's looking that up,
Pageland, the ones out here off Cat Harp, and the one across the street.
We're gonna turn into Arcola.
That's gonna be like Ashburn.
well, I mean, well, here's the other thing too, as long as we're,
On that desk, underneath, there's gonna be a switch on a little outlet. On the wall. On the wall of the desk.
Oh, yeah.
Can you push it down so the projector screen comes down?
well,
Thank you.
as long as we're talking comp plan, they've also got, they've done something really strange this year. And I sort of question their motivation for doing it. But they're in the middle of doing the land use chapter, for the comprehensive plan for the county as well right now. And one of the things that they've done that I have never seen done in any jurisdiction, and I question the legality of it, is they have asked individual landowners throughout the county to submit their own what they call small comprehensive plan amendments. So I own a piece of property, I don't like my zoning, so rather than going through a comp plan amendment and a rezoning through the normal channels, I'm just going to include my parcel in the comprehensive plan review. So instead of having a separate hearing for this one parcel, you're getting all of these small things lumped together as part of the general plan, and it doesn't get the level of scrutiny that it does. So you got a bunch of those going on. Several of them are going to impact the areas around here. And then county staff sort of threw everybody a curveball because they've also included activity centers that they're now overlaying on top of the comp plan, several of which impact us, and they're rather strange. For example, one of the new activity centers encompasses the entirety of that Gainesville Crossing project that is currently being graded at 29 and 66. So since there's a site plan for it, there's a comprehensive plan amendment for it, and a rezoning, all of which have already been accepted, and the land uses have already been delineated, the land bays and the FARs and the buildings have already been laid out, why are you laying an activity center on top of something that's already happened? Same thing they want to do over here at the hospital. They want to replan the area that's already been approved, specifically just to the west of the hospital in that area between the hospital and Antioch Road. When they first came in for the hospital and the associated rezonings around it, after, I can't remember if it was the third or the fourth iteration, that parcel was supposed to be used for the development of medical offices to support the hospital. And they did that as a trade-off for allowing retail where the Walmart and the Home Depot and all of that are done. There were certain proffers tied to it. Well, now the landowner doesn't want to build those medical office buildings. He now wants to sell the property to Pulte, forget the proffers he already made to the county, and now change it under the auspices of this activity center and this small area plan from revenue positive medical office in support of the hospital to revenue negative multifamily housing. So, I mean, they're just throwing so much spaghetti at the wall right now. It's almost impossible to keep track of it all. But I think that we need to sit down at some point in time and look at the land use chapter, at least with respect to the 1 mile radius or this area of the Gainesville and the Brentsville districts, which are impacted, and put some comments in, because I think they've sort of cut us out of the loop on this one, and I suspect it's intentionally, because I don't believe we've gotten any correspondence from them on that.
Because we've gotten a good portion lately on the data centers, but
Which I'm sure you haven't heard about the activity centers of the small CPAs. Like they want to turn the Boy Scout property into housing.
Pulte wants to do that.
I don't know if it's Pulte on that one. Pulte wants to do it next to the hospital.
so, QBE's up here, edge of town, boundary is here, to get your bearings. So you have this first commercial business right here. So Van Meter will be building in this land bay, this land bay.
The front land bays.
Where's the 55 plus going to be?
They're gone.
They're gone?
That's all townhouses.
A portion of it is still 55 plus, but it is not as much as it was.
No, it's all townhouses though. They were 55 plus small lot singles. Those are all gone.
Yeah. So this through here is what they're already putting up. And then, these were the 3 residential properties that we're discussing, and this is the one that we're discussing right now.
That's the yellow house that's also yellow. Or no, it's a stone fronted
This
house.
one is like a stone front, that yellow one.
Where's QBE?
Is that the corner of Cat Harpin?
No.
That yellow
No.
one's like right here.
US Tigers, next to US Tigers.
Is the
Oh,
sidewalk
okay.
that jogs in funny and then comes back out now? I think
The roundabout.
So yeah, that's what the yellow house is. So that's all supposed to be
So, which,
assisted living or something, isn't it?
no, all this is part of the Van meter.
Yeah, weren't they supposed to have part Van Meter townhouses and where that yellow house is, that was supposed to be an assisted living area?
No.
No, not anymore?
They couldn't, well, no, they never could get those 3, when they first came in, they couldn't get those 3 parcels, which is why why it's kind of a horseshoe shape. Those people would not sell. The other people were all part of an assemblage, where a whole bunch of people got together and they assembled their smaller lots. They had small, narrow lots, and they sold the entirety of it to Van Meter, but they could not get those 3 people to sell. And now I guess they have.
Yeah, they have, okay.
And my guess is you're going to see it slowly walk its way. My guess is the last one to go will be the center parcel.
Talking these 3 right here.
Correct. My guess would be the last one to go would be the center parcel. That's Alan Gossam's old house, isn't it?
That's Gossam's property, or
Yeah.
was,
Yep.
yeah. And so I'm sorry, I've asked you, so those 3, who's buying those 3? Is that?
Van Meter.
Same, okay.
So instead of doing, they're sort of cutting corners by trying, in my view, and trying to do an expansion of the previous rezoning. I kind of question the procedure, but I guess nothing surprises me in the county these days. It had some rather awkward language in the application, as I recall.
Yeah.
They're just giving us a courtesy to make comments, but we really, they can just ignore them though.
And generally do.
Yeah, and they, yeah.
Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I mean, the wins are fairly infrequent, although we sometimes get some concessions out of them. Quite frankly, we blew it on this one. We had the opportunity to have them expand our streetscape all the way down there, and we had that in place, and then I'm not quite sure how it happened, but we lost that. It had something to do with that. They were going to extend the streetscape actually across QBE's property at their expense, and go all the way from the town to Tyler, but somewhere along the line that changed to that black asphalt path.
Is Tyler coming under pressure at all to be sold?
They can't sell it.
Why not?
They don't have enough elementary school space as it is.
They're gonna have to build more now with all.
No, that's the interesting thing. I mean, somebody mentioned the digital gateway. March is also the initiation time for the regular initiation of the regular comprehensive plan amendments that the county receives on an annual basis. And because of the digital gateway application, the owner of the Smith Family Farm, which backs up to, let's see, on one side it backs up to Heritage Hunt, on the other side it backs up to Catharpin Valley Estates, which are 10-acre lots. Across Catharpin is Oak Valley, and then next to it is the Prince William Digital Gateway stuff. What they're saying is that since the digital gateway, they're presuming the digital gateway is going to get approved, therefore, we now need to take this area of Rural Crescent and jam in 485 more homes. Well, the argument that I would make, and I think the argument that the town should continue to make is, In view of that, in view of the Utterback rezoning for several hundred more homes up off of 15, the addition of this stuff, the addition of stuff we're allowing in town, and the fact that the brand-new high school did very little to alleviate overcrowding at Battlefield. Bull Run Middle's adding more trailers this year. I think Reagan's adding them too. If you suddenly add even more houses, then you're going to require even more school construction out here on the West End. And what's maddening to me is that the supervisors on the east end of the county seem to fall into this trap of not understanding that if you approve that level of development in the west, because it will become mandatory that the new school facilities and the school funding dollars be targeted to supplying the new facilities for the new residents. That means that those education dollars or those capital improvement dollars for the educational facilities then necessarily cannot be spent on the east to upgrade their failing infrastructure over there. It's a really it's this kind of circular series of events that just makes things worse and worse in this county. But overcrowding on the west and deteriorating facilities on the east, and I'm not sure which is worse, the overcrowded school or the one that's not up to snuff. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the road at us.
So with all that in mind, do we want to provide comments back regarding this project?
If I might suggest, we just regurgitate our comments that we had for John Marshall Commons, make them specific to this addition, and leave it at that, just so we get something on the record.
Maybe a great survey question.
Is that,
What do you think of the county's overdevelopment of western Prince William County? I'll write that question and put it in.
I mean, that's actually a perfect thing to shotgun out to the community. The Prince William County's planning on doing this. We need your input. What do you think? The town council and the mayor need your input so we can respond back to the county.
I would love to have that question in there.
That's possible.
I can work up a question like that with some approximate numbers of housing units in the Gainesville district.
Then I think that question would get a whole lot of responses, I bet, because people are
You're
just concerned
not
about the
gonna-
amount of crowding is going on.
Most of the responses won't be printable, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, so in the meantime, I will find our John Marshall comments and readdress them to this project as it is still within the same community as John Marshall Commons, and the intent is very similar to.
Yeah, it's actually an addition to the John Marshall Commons rezoning specifically, which is why it's weird. I've actually never seen one like this, so it gives me even less faith in the county planning staff than I had previously.
Okey dokey, so if everyone is okay with those comments being reworked and sent over, I will work on that and get those out to the county.
Can you also reach out to them about the activity centers and the small CPAs as part of the comp plan, and if and when they intend to reach out to us on the comp plan? And I don't remember, let me see who's actually handling that. We don't have a real planning director in the county right now. We have an acting. Let me see who that belongs to. Planning. That's 2040, right?
The most recent item I have is Alex Van.
I think Alex Venegas is it. I don't think it's Alex Stanley, but let me. Can't find the right link.
Yes, I have something from him on the 16th.
Yeah, it is Alex Venegas as opposed to Stanley.
Yep, I will take care of that.
And if anybody does have interest, as long as we're talking about it, if anybody does have interest in the the various data center issues and the comp plan. On Thursday, there was a public input meeting on expansion of the data center opportunity zone overlay, where you'll have an option to attend either virtually or in person over at George Mason. I can forward anybody who's interested the links to sign up for that, both to attend and to speak. I will be there in person. And then next week on the 27th, there is this virtually the same type of meeting, same place. For the Prince William Digital Gateway, I have the sign-up information for that one as well, if anybody's interested in going. And then lastly, on just, what did I say, February 10th? There is one on the comp plan overall, again, the same place. Just be forewarned that you'll have to put aside some of your medical privacy, because you have to sign up with, you have to register with George Mason if you want to attend in person. They're demanding vaccination status and all sorts of stuff like that before you can attend a county meeting, which I find obnoxious and unconscionable on the part of the county, but so much for my medical privacy. But if anybody's interested, just shoot me an email and I'll send you the links.
All right, next agenda item is old business.
Trying to think where we left off. Crossroads Village will be coming back to the town council. They've submitted some additional traffic information, so that'll be something that we're going to be discussing at our next town council work session meeting on the 31st. And they have worked, as probably everyone has seen, they've started all of their grading work. They will continue to work on this and installing their stormwater systems over the course of the next several months into the next year. If any concerns come up, or if you have any neighbors who have any concerns or questions, you can always point them to their direction in Town Hall. Robinson Village is still working as well. They have several of the homes have sold, so I'm sure here very soon, once they receive their building permits, we will see the homes going up on that site as well. We are receiving several reviews for site plans. We will probably be bringing site plans up to the next Planning Commission meeting. So we will be letting everyone know ahead of time which ones those are. We are working currently on Robinson Paradise, which is located over the bridge over 66 on Jefferson Street to the left, right before you get out of the town boundary. We're also working on two site plan amendments to the Crossroads Village. Those are for individual parcels within the site, and we are also working on finalizing everything with the revisions to the Crossroads Village site plan, and that's just in regards to some stormwater modifications. So that's old business. And
Question, Emily, what's the status of the Starbucks drive-through? What
is the item that we will be discussing at the next town council meeting with the updated traffic numbers when they're presented.
Okay.
So that'll be on the 31st of January.
Are they going to present us new numbers, or is that still in limbo?
They have submitted a new set of numbers, and so that's what we'll be taking to the work session for town council to discuss.
The December numbers or the January numbers? Because I thought they were not going to give us the December numbers because they didn't like them.
They've updated a traffic table and provided some other documents. I can review it all and let you know exactly what it includes. I do not believe it.
This may not be the proper
Yes.
venue for this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
By revised traffic tables, do we mean revised report from the certified traffic engineer with the accompanying data, as was done in December, or are we talking about something similar to what the developer handed us in September, October, and November, with no supporting documentation? Or is it too early to determine?
It is too early to determine, however, based on what was previously received, it appears to come straight from the developer.
And not from the engineer?
Correct.
Okay. I'll talk to you offline about that.
Okay, next item, new business. So far, we don't have any additional new business updates. We're kind of holding steady with everything that we have going on, all the site plans. We do not have anything that we're preparing for in the next month or two. So that's it for new business. ARB updates.
Lidl, Lidl came with a material change,
Yes.
color, and we approved that,
Yep. Very simple meeting.
pretty much, yeah,
I think we're in and out in 10 minutes.
yeah.
Town council.
Actually, I have
Oh, we do have a ARB meeting tomorrow night. That
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
we
only
have a
other
meeting.
little update.
actually have quite a few things since we didn't meet last month. For those that are unaware, Chris Cohn has moved on to Louisa County as the deputy county executive. Is that what it is?
I think so.
So Emily is your acting town manager until such time as we hire a new one. We've laid on, what is the title we're adding?
Events coordinator.
An events coordinator to lessen Emily's responsibility for that and allow her to focus more on planning and the administrative functions in the town. And that's all she's getting as an events coordinator. Inside joke, sorry. For those who haven't seen it, parked out back is a town maintenance vehicle. It got to the point where we needed a pickup truck, so we managed to bid for one successfully at a rather low price from the city of Warrenton. And it's already come in handy for a couple of things since we lost our the person who was doing our trash service, and we didn't have any way to transfer the materials from the town trash cans to the dumpster any longer without having to go through a rather expensive contract renegotiation with, was it AAA or something like that? For those who haven't heard it, the new chief gave his 100-day report. Generally satisfied with where the department is. He's ordered some new equipment and put in some new policies, and he's rewriting. I guess some outdated ones are difficult to understand procedures, and that's in the process right now. And then last but not least, we have adopted the language so that we can do a design build RFP for the park sidewalk, and that should be going out to bid soon.
Yes. Soon.
That's all I got.
I do have just one little public service announcement that I'd like to put out there. Today, we were informed that the link for requesting your free at-home COVID test from the federal government is now live. That's something that we shared on the town Facebook. So there is a link out there. All you need to do is click on it, and it'll direct you to a page that is run by United States Postal Service. You put in your first and last name and your address. They will send one pack, which is 4 tests per residence. It's only 1 per household, so if your wife or significant other has already signed up for it, or one of your kids has, you won't be able to get 2. But that is something that's out there, so please feel free to share this with family members, neighbors, friends, anyone you think who might want to sign up for it. It is something that's available to everyone in the U.S. So again, it's on our Facebook page. You could also probably just Google, how to get my free at-home COVID test from the government, and it'll pop up. And that's
Okay.
all I have.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
My second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Get a minute, Emily.
Yes.